Welcome back to Arcturian Philosophy, brought to you by me, Krista Hauer. First, I want to mention I'm starting to get into the habit of this. If you are someone who has been fond of the videos, or if you've just started tuning in and have any ability to help me out or to donate in some way that doesn't have to be financially, that can be with a bicycle, with crystals that you're not using, even cursed ones, because I have the ability to speak to crystals and can help exorcise them, so to speak. So anything that you have to donate, a bicycle is something that I can use. I'm not sure how someone will get me a bicycle exactly, but financially that is something that I'm really in need of. And if you're able to donate, I don't have a button for this yet. I haven't quite figured out how to create a donate button. But to donate, what you do is donate to my email address, which is arcturianphilosophy@gmail.com. It's the same as the channel name, Arcturian Philosophy. So arcturianphilosophy@gmail.com. And first, before I get into the topic, which is actually some people could see this as a sad topic. It's about how to cope with loss and the experience of death. But before I get into that, Bashar, he kept on telling me, Krista, you don't know. The people like your videos. There are some comments that are negative. You just ignore them because they are not you're following your excitement. Your excitement is to be doing this. Following your excitement is to be talking to people, is to be helping them in some way, not to be trapped and to be forced to do this thing or that thing. Following your excitement means doing this, doing exactly what you're doing. And so people like you. You might not know about it, but there are people watching you that like you, that might be too afraid to say something to you. And so if you ask for what you want, they'll be able to give these things to you. There are people that are able to give these things to you. And so if you're able to contribute anything financially, to me even just $1 is helpful. I went on a walk. I went to the graveyard. This is how I segue into this here. I went to the local graveyard to pay homage to the souls that were there, and I filmed a video. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the video off of my phone onto my computer in order to attempt to upload it. That's one thing that's off the list of things that I need. I did need a laptop. Now, I do have a laptop, but financially, as far as things like, I'm talking about rent, I'm talking about groceries, that's what I mean when I say I'm in need of some help here. I was making my video thinking, you know what, I'm at peace with the situation. I'm here talking about, the deceased. That was one of the first things I began experiencing when I began to experience psychic abilities. I began to experience some deceased relatives or people that I had known attempt to talk to me. And when it first happened, it scared the living daylights out of me. It was like the sixth sense. It was frightening. The people trying to talk were not frightening, but the experience of them attempting to do so, or me thinking, oh my God, I'm hearing a dead person. Oh my God, I can't handle this. That was my first reaction. And so I was over by the cemetery. I returned home, and lo and behold, I saw right there on my email account, just hours after starting to put up on my video profiles, please donate to arcturianphilosophy@gmail.com if you can. Someone had sent me a donation. And I thought, wow, it happened that fast that someone decided to help. And I could hear, it was almost like Bashar was he does have the strange accent that you hear that people talk with when they channel him. And other Yael who are like him, they do have this strange kind of accent that sounds part Scottish. He said, I told you so, I told you so. And so I thought, oh yeah, all right, Bashar, all right, you were right. Also, point out in the one video where I mention Bashar, where I answer a question in general of, you know, what if I would like to talk to Bashar? I'm someone watching you, and I want to talk to Bashar too. He told me, what people do is exactly what you have done, which was to say, hello, Bashar, I want to talk to you, the entity called Bashar. And he showed up. And right when I said that, when I said you want to talk to the entity called Bashar, and then you hear he showed up. You hear a knock in the background where in between the pause for, and he showed up. And that I know that was him on the wall. He's a bit of a jokester, honestly, in his personality. So that's something first order of business. I'm going to start mentioning this at the beginning of all of my videos because I am in need of financial assistance, and Bashar keep on telling me there are people who are able to help you, and you simply must ask. How are you going to get the mirror to do anything for you if you don't first go to the mirror and demonstrate what you want? If you want something such as assistance, you can't go to the mirror and demand of the mirror, I want you to make things this way or that way. Instead, you have to change within yourself the feeling of lack, and change for yourself the feeling. They all tend to hold their hands in this kind of way when they're channeling. You just change for yourself the feeling of the lack and the feeling that you do not have that which you need, and instead change your feeling as if you are looking in the mirror and the mirror is frowning. In order to make the mirror smile, you must smile first. And it's so that it was that kind of philosophy. So now I will speak on the topic. I did have a nice video for this, but I can't manage to get it onto the computer to upload it, about being in the cemetery and honoring the dead. Now, for those of us who have lost loved ones, we've probably lost some loved ones, either physically or mentally, menticide, as one super soldier called it, where someone no longer uses any of their own thought processes, and instead it's all another being or another consciousness or soul stream that is controlling them like a robot, menticide. Whether you've lost someone in your life, either physically in the body or in spirit, in the mind, we must remember that no one is ever dead. And he says, repeat that. No one, it seems like he wants to help out here. I wasn't expecting this. No, I think it's because I made the comment about how he said, ask for help and you will get help. Now, no one is ever really dead. And I have a little bit of an advantage of understanding this, because when I was very depressed, this was many years ago, I tried to commit suicide, and I had a near-death experience. And I didn't believe in God, I didn't believe in angels. I was raised as a strict Christian. I was programmed that way into Assembly of God, technically. Assembly of God and Presbyterian denominations of Christianity. And so I had renounced God. It had made my life just a terrible hell. And so I had renounced God, or anything to do with God, or anything to do with Jesus. And I simply said, I don't believe in any of this anymore. I'm going to be an agnostic. But I became so depressed at one point that I tried to commit suicide. I won't mention how I did it because, well, first of all, the way I did it was very high tech. I had access to things that people watching this would not have access to. I had access to all kinds of medical equipment. I had a PICC line. That's where you have a semi-permanent IV on your arm. Actually, at the time, I had a port, which is a semi-permanent IV placed in your chest. So I had ways to inject things into myself to kill myself. And what suffice to say, what I did is I created a combination of drugs that I knew would induce cardiac arrest. And the unfortunate result of that was that I did actually die. I was in the bathtub because during the middle of it, I began to go into cardiac arrest. I began to seize, and I started thinking to myself, the body has a very powerful survival mechanism. And I began to think to myself, wait, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, because your body is very programmed to do that. And so I tried to do some things that I knew about to try to restore some of my heart function. And part of that involved a bathtub and different tricks that I know. And while I was in the bathtub, I died. At least, if I didn't die, what I did at least do is I left my body and I was staring at myself from the ceiling down into the bathtub with myself there, looked dead. And what I experienced was a feeling of being everything all at once. And instantly everything just made sense. Just like that. Everything that existed, everything that was, everything that would be made sense, and it seemed like this intricate plan, this beautifully woven tapestry of life, and that everything was as it should be. And I thought to myself, wow, this is the best thing I've ever experienced. I experienced complete joy, happiness. There was no sadness, no pain, no negative emotions whatsoever. It was all a feeling of oneness and of unconditional love. That was the most prominent emotion, of being accepted fully for who I was, for what I was, for who I had been, for who I would be in the future. It was a feeling of total acceptance, the acceptance that you never got from your parents, from your family, from your siblings, from your peers, from anyone in your environment. The feeling of not being accepted, that was all there, right there for me. And I felt a presence there. And so the presence said to me, well, at first I talked to it. I said, well, who are you? Or what are you? I was shocked because there was a presence. And the response was, I am God. And I didn't believe in God. Remember, I didn't believe in God, didn't believe in angels at the time. And I said, what? Back to it, simply in shock. That, what do you mean you're God? What do you mean? And then it paused for a moment and then said calmly, I am you. And then when it said that I am you, I just sort of sat there. I already was sitting there because I was sitting there dead in a bathtub, but my consciousness floating there just sort of stopped because I did not know how to answer. And I saw before me what many people have described during near-death experiences, which are clips of your life going by at warp speed. It was as if I was being shown scenes of my life, of my entire life up until that moment. And I was told, you can stay in this place, but it would be better if you went back. And I was confused, however, because the last thing I'd said to my mother was F you. And we had been in an argument, and this was only maybe 6 hours prior. And I said, well, why am I here if I'm was such a horrible person? Why am I in this wonderful, beautiful place? It doesn't make sense. I mean, I don't believe in Jesus. What is any of this? And the response, I'll never forget, even the specific wording was, Jesus is not mandatory. I have many ways. That was the literal response. Jesus is not mandatory. I have many ways. And so I thought, that's an interesting response right there. Jesus is not mandatory. I have many ways. But I said, well, you know what? I want to stay here. This is beautiful. What I was thinking at the time was, why would anybody be crying over this? Even though I could see a dead body there, I was like, you should be throwing a party. People should be throwing a party when this happens. when someone dies, we shouldn't be having, funerals and feeling sad. We should be have a party. This is the best thing ever. And what stopped me was then I was shown an image of the future, and this did actually happen. So I was shown my clock, and it said 10 a.m. And it was I was shown 10 a.m. the following morning, that my mother would show up at my door unannounced and come in, and I followed her from above, from an angle. I was being shown this from an angle from above, and I watched her as she came in the house and was confused because she didn't find me there sitting there like I usually would have been. And she walked through the house and then into the bathroom. Now, the bathroom had a sensor on it where if you didn't move for over 15 minutes, the light would turn off. And I realized, oh my God, well, hey, if I'm a dead body sitting there, the bathroom light will turn off after 15 minutes of this. And I see her go into the bathroom, into the dark bathroom with no light on, flip on the light switch, and then bam, suddenly see my dead, stiff, cold, hard body lying there. And instantly, at that moment, I said, no, I want to live. I want to live. I'll do it for my mother. I want to live. I want to live. I'll go back. I'll go back. And then when I said that, the last thing I was told was that what I want you to do, what this consciousness said to me, which you could call also my higher self talking to me, saying, what I want you to do is when you go back to spread this message to young people. And I would say young people are people in their mid-30s and under. I think now that no matter how hard things get, you must try to survive. And you must live because you're destined to live. It's not right for the young to die early like this. So no matter how hard things get, you have to keep on trying. And also the impression that I got was that my struggling would not be in vain. At the time, I didn't know anything about Arcturians. I didn't know anything about metaphysics or about the New Age movement or hardly any of it. I just knew that I felt suicidal and wanted to die. And I came back from that. I did experience heart problems for about a week because cardiac arrest, using drugs that would induce cardiac arrest was what I did. So I experienced some heart trouble for about a week, but I survived through that, clearly, as I'm sitting here. And what we need to know, I have a bit of an advantage of this, having experienced this feeling. When our loved ones cross over, there is the most beautiful joy, bliss, and unconditional love there beyond the veil that they experience. I've heard very few negative near-death experience accounts, although I know there are a handful of notable ones, but most people who have an NDE have an incredibly positive experience despite the fact that they were dead. And I know that I am not the first person to say the best time I had in my life, or the happiest time in my life, was when I was dead. So that's the first thing to remember, is that when our loved ones pass over, they do go to what you call a better place. It really was the most wonderful thing that I had ever experienced. The other thing is that we are actually never dead. The Arcturians view the body almost as if it was a kind of piece of clothing that you would put on. I likened this when I was in the cemetery, the video I couldn't upload, to wearing a prom dress. You pick out, you spend however many months looking for your prom dress or your tuxedo. Or if you're, a lazy guy, you just kind of go and rent one, and then that's that. But for girls, this is a good analogy. You spend months looking for that perfect prom dress. You pick your prom dress, and you wear it for prom night. But then what do you do with it after prom night? You simply put it back on the hanger, and you put it in your closet for storage and safekeeping. the body, this has been likened to a car as well, but I really liked the prom dress analogy that was suddenly given to me, because you don't go, wearing your prom dress after prom. And when the next prom comes around, do you wear the same dress? Oh, no, of course you don't. You pick a different dress. So it was told to me almost as if, think of the body, at least for women, this is easy. Think of the body as like your prom dress. You're putting on your prom dress for the prom, which is your life. And then when your life is over, you simply take off your prom dress, and then you go about the process of picking out another one for your next prom, for your next life journey or experience. Or for men, maybe if you are a type of guy who likes picking out tuxedos or looking slick, maybe this time you'll go to the prom wearing that pink tuxedo that everyone's been daring you to wear but you've never worn before. You try something new or something different. So from an Arcturian perspective, the physical body that we are inside of is nothing more than simply a vessel. It's a container, or simply like the prom dress. The best example that they could give me that would make sense to me was as if your body is a prom dress that you are putting on, that your consciousness puts on your body, wears it for the duration of your prom, and then discards it or puts it in storage, or puts it back in the closet, and then picks out a new one for your next prom or for your next ballroom dance or for your next special event, which that special event being your life here. So our loved ones beyond the veil, one question that I feel is, how can we talk with them? How do we know what has really happened to them? How do we know from source perspective what really happens? And part of the answer that I receive right now is that it doesn't actually matter specifically what occurs for some reason. When we die, we're taken back into source's perspective, where we can then look back down from source perspective and choose another life to come into, choose another prom dress to wear, to come back into the physical body, which is your dress or your tuxedo that you're wearing to your special event, your life, the prom. As far as communicating with our loved ones, one thing that I would always think was kind of funny is I would hear some people say to psychics, "Oh, and will you please tell my uncle that I'm sorry about the, whatever. Please tell so-and-so that I really love them." And I would think of this kind of humorously, because any psychic knows that you don't have to tell the psychic what the psychic is not a middleman between you talking to your loved one. You don't have to say, "Will you tell them this for me?" They're aware of you, of your actions, of what you're doing and what you're saying, what you're thinking. They're already aware of those things. Just you're not aware of them trying to talk back to you in the same kind of way. And so that's one thing I think that should be said. Even if you can't establish contact with a deceased loved one, remember that they can hear you no matter what. Even if you can't manage to afford to see some expensive psychic to give you messages from them, they can still hear you. One thing that you can do is attempt to create a dream journal. My mother, when my grandfather passed away, would come to her in dreams, and you can ask, you can make a journal and ask specifically for, say it's a specific loved one that you'd like to talk to who's passed over. You make a specific journal saying, "I'd like to try and communicate with you. Please come to me in my dreams." And this might not work immediately, especially if you're a person like me who has a hard time remembering your dreams. try to put the intent there that you will remember. Also, out-of-body experiences can link us with the other side of the veil. Even if you're a person like me who has a difficult, let's say maybe you've done it like me, but it's kind of a difficult thing for you to do, to go out of body. Even if none of these methods really seem to work for you and you can't quite manage to communicate with those on the other side of the veil, sending out the intention, sending your love to them, trying to connect with them, even if you don't feel the connection that they would have to you, connecting to them puts out the intention that you would like to communicate or you would like to establish contact. And with the law of attraction, if you do that for long enough, if you put your focus into that for long enough, it will happen. So I have a good message for us all, that our loved ones, those that have passed on, they're not really dead. You're never really dead. You simply pass on into another form. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. So in this physical body, we hold a certain amount of energy. And when we pass out of this physical body, our prom dress, we hang it back up on the shelf and say, oh, all right, I'm going to pick a new one. That energy transforms into a different form. Those of you who are starseeds or who have had memories of being in different extraterrestrial bodies know that it's a very expansive kind of energy, what it feels like to go back into those higher dimensional light bodies. So rest assured that your loved ones are safe and sound, that we choose to do what we came here to do before we come here to do it. And if, say, we came here to make a small change on this planet, if we came here to make a big change on this planet, if we came here to simply learn and grow, that is the path of the soul. And the soul continues its path even after death. And that ties into the reincarnative cycle. So when you have your soul going about its trajectory, its frequency, because we are all frequencies. And so when you have your soul, your light stream going about its path, its frequency, we end up doing that which is right for us. And for some of us, that might be coming back to this planet. For some of us, that might be incarnating into another dimension or into another body or another race or another planet. But for most of us here, those of us that are still here or interested or watching something like this, I believe all are pretty much determined to incarnate back here. One thing that I think a lot of people struggle with is not wanting to come back here. And I think that's a huge topic all in and of itself that I could address separately. But one of the keys to becoming an ascended master is realizing that not wanting to come back here, the resistance to that, is what creates the need to come back. As soon as you accept your mastery and begin to realize, wait, I don't need to come back here to accomplish my spiritual tasks, or more so, that you would love to come back again to teach more and more of your wisdom, that is when you break the reincarnative cycle and become ascended. So remember that, again, our loved ones are never really dead. They're always with us in our hearts. And they are always with us in spirit as well. wherever their spirit or their soul stream takes them on their personal frequency journey. So I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will see you more on some Arcturian philosophy. Please do not forget to donate on PayPal. That's arcturianphilosophy@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night.